and we welcome everybody, all the new people, and the people have been coming for a long time. So the Kaufman Foundation was created in 2012, but the Kaufman Foundation, 1 Million Cups was created in 2012. And it's very important to review this. The Kaufman Foundation helps entrepreneurs engage, and it's important to support everyone. But it's something also very important is to follow follow these kind of tips or things that the Kaufman Foundation tells us to do. We have to be diverse, inclusive. We have to support each other, and we have to respect each other. So it's very important that we follow. This is the agenda for today. So everybody, if you don't have the app for 1 Million Cups, we'll ask you to download it and check in, so we know who is here, and then also you can share your information with each other. The Kaufman Foundation cannot be done without volunteers, so we will ask all the volunteers, organizers to come up. And today I will ask each of us to share why we love more about 1 Million Cups and why we're here. We can begin, Tony.
Okay, start with me. We'll start with John.
Oh yeah, so John Yu with Office Evolution. So I participate in 1 Million Cups because it's a community that helps other entrepreneurs to help them grow and to support each other.
Tony Barnett, currently with End Goal Consultants. And part of why I love and enjoy this organization and being part of this is because of the fact that I get to go back and enjoy what I enjoyed most about being in business school, which was learning about companies from case studies, hearing new situations that were out of left field sometimes, and then trying to work collaboratively to come up with a solution for it. That's my passion.
I'm Mayasha Mendis with the Transformational Education Adventure Center. I feel like I'm actually in school learning so much from everybody, and it's a really safe environment for everybody to really give feedback and help and support all the new businesses. So that's why I love it. It's a way to give back and learn at the same time.
I was a presenter almost a year ago, and the advice and guidance I got from everybody in the crowd was so helpful and so informative. I wanted to be a part of the process, and that's why I'm glad to be one of the organizers for 1 Million Cups.
I love 1 Million Cups because we get together for free and give advice for free to business owners. This is a crazy opportunity. You can come up here and present for 6 minutes and get almost 45 minutes of feedback. There's not a lot of places where you can do that. So thank you to our awesome community for coming out. I love seeing all of your faces and making all of those great connections.
I love 1 Million Cups because you are sitting there willing to participate and exchange ideas with everyone else in the room. It's a way to build trust among people and a way to get to know people without really doing anything other than showing up and being real. There's a tremendous brightness in the room in case you haven't noticed, and that's one of the
Coming
things.
up.
Not even that.
Hey, at least the screen's white and not yellow. Orange.
This is where it's good to be short.
Yeah.
And trust is a great factor in building relationships, so that's one of the reasons I'm in love with 1 Million Cups.
We love you too.
So at this point, we would like to introduce each of you. So we'll begin with Erin. This is our speaker. Just say your name.
My name is Ryan Tessamariam, and I'm the founder of BidClipz. Alan Anderson, and I help grow businesses with sales.
Dan Linder, Golden Rule from Watch.
Chico Cox, I'm here with Career Confidence.
Dan Hall, Career Confidence.
Megan Yu,
John Yu, Office Evolution.
But before that, I just forgot something. We cannot do this without the sponsors. So we'll ask you now.
We'll do that in a second. We'll do that in a second. You're good.
Let's
You're good.
continue. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, Teresa White, College Funding Coach.
Russ McIntosh, Vision Idea Design.
Jeff Englander, Career Confidence.
Claudia Pages, Medical Society of Northern Virginia.
Randy Mulliken, Career Confidence.
Jen Dalton, Brand Mirror.
Katie Nelson, Sales Uprising.
Joseph Martins with Catalyzer Consulting.
Very Fake Collaboration Management Sciences.
Financial Mendes with the Transformation Education Adventure Center. We offer preschool and after-school programs here in McLean.
Basil BA Networking Breakfast Club and Expos.
Gary Cohen, Studios Incorporated. Tony Barnett, Gold Group Consultants.
Karen Schmaltz, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, we're marketing on Fairfax County.
Ryan Deemer, Anderson Price Builders.
Ben Gaita, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority.
Martin Nook, CEO of Tenzing Global.
Amara Nakure, Paragon Education Consulting.
Joe Gilson, founder of Analyze It.
Lisa Humes, Health Markets, helping with employee benefit options and more.
Tom Scheib, Realtor for all ages.
James Lawson, Impact Business Solutions.
John Rutenberg, CCC Solutions.
Natalie Critchley, travel and craft beer blogger.
Thank you very much. So I will ask in the sponsors for today to come up. Can you come, please? So the place that we use is being sponsored by Office Evolution.
Great, thank you, Laura. So I'm John Yu with Office Evolution. We provide fully furnished office space and co-working space and nice conference room space like this one. But more than that, we're focused on building a community of business owners. That's what I like about 1 Million Cups, and that's because we partner with 1 Million Cups, because 1 Million Cups is focused on building a community. And when you're a small business owner, having a support structure in place is so important. So thank you again, and enjoy the meeting.
Thank you. And the delicious coffee is being sponsored by Career Confidence, and Jeff will talk about it.
Sure. Thank you, Laura. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Englander, and today I represent Career Confidence. It's an awesome organization that helps individuals who have either lost their position or looking for a new position, a job, to help them, to give them the job search skills that they need to go out and get the job they want. So it's an awesome organization. We meet every Saturday morning, both here in Tysons in this very room, or in Rockville. And actually we're opening up Prince George's County, and we're also opening up Loudoun County real soon. But we're all about people who are in the job search, and we go through the entire process of this coming Saturday morning. Our lecture will be all about, you just found out you lost your job, you're walking out with a box in your hand, now what? And we go all the way through to helping you negotiate a job offer. And everything in between. We give you the skills, and it costs you nothing. So, we ask you, if you or any of your friends who are looking for work and are interested in some guidance, please come see us. CareerConfidence.org is our website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, do you want to introduce our representative?
Well, only half the room is logged into the 1 Million Cups app. So before we begin, if the rest of you would please go ahead and download it and log in. We'll go from there, because right now there's only about 12 of you, and as you can see, there's more than 12.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jake.
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, 14 now.
Good morning.
Good morning. Woohoo!
I want to say thank you very much, first of all, for coming. I appreciate your time. I know that this weekday mornings are valuable, so thank you. My name is Araya Patrick Espamariam. I am a digital media entrepreneur. I have 20 years experience in video production, audio production, copywriting, commercial production, corporate video production, and so on and so forth. Every kind of production, short of features, I've done just about all of it. And today I'm going to be presenting to you my startup. It's called BidClipz. And the purpose of BidClipz is to provide a media streaming solution for independent creators. A little bit of background. Like I said before, I've spent 20 years in production. The reason why I am standing in front of you today is because tech destroyed essentially my business. As it does to many, it sort of cannibalizes or changes a business, and you have to adapt with it. And this startup is my response to what happened. It used to be when I got out of college, I don't know, I guess 21 years ago, I could do a commercial for a client or an industrial video for a client, and the minimum production budget would be about $50,000, maybe on the high end $150,000, and I'd have a $20,000 to $40,000 margin. 10 years later, that margin was $2,000 to $3,000, and now you can do what I do on your phone. I've done it. I've used an app called Bidable where I can generate Instagram ads for paying $100 a year licensing fee. That was my whole career in one app. So when I looked at what was happening to the digital media production space and how I was going to respond to it, I started thinking of streaming, because what do I see around me all the time? YouTube or Spotify or Vimeo or Pandora. I see media being created, and I see that there's money being made. So how do I become a part of that? Do I just make something? I'm a creative. Maybe I have my own channel. Maybe I decide to become a content producer online and stream and generate revenue that way. I sat next to my wife in bed, and she's watching a show on YouTube. I'm not kidding. The show is this: A Woman Eats Crab Legs. That's the show. 1 million views every episode, and she's eating crab. She ain't critiquing nothing. It's not. There's no commentary. Literally, I can just hear her smacking, which makes me want to choke my wife. But that's fine. I'm sitting through this. But what did I notice? I noticed that everybody is a content generator. Everybody. When I was coming up, there were so many gatekeepers. You had to be connected, talented, backed by money just to get an opportunity to get in front of a few eyeballs. You can now shoot something on your phone today, and if it's clever enough or interesting enough, or I could argue not even that, you're going to have tens of thousands of eyeballs on your product within weeks. But then I noticed something, and this changed the way I looked at where I wanted to take my business. Streaming is worthless.
Is what?
Is worthless. Streaming is worthless, and the content is worthless. What do I mean by that? I mean, so much is generated on an hourly basis, and there are so many options for so many eyeballs that the value of what you're making is reduced greatly. It's not like back when I was growing up and you had 40 cable channels and you only had so many radio stations, and you could physically buy a CD or a tape or an album, and you could tell that the commodity had moved from the studio to the factory to the shelf, and you could buy it and it had real value. You can stream the same song on your phone on Spotify 10 times in one day, so how much is that stream worth? What if somebody streams it 100 times the next day? What if somebody streams it only once a week from now? What's the value? BidClipz is the solution I came up with. And I'm approaching it from the angle of the audience is your value. What you create is wonderful and engaging, but it is not how you generate the money from your work. You must now use your audience to generate your revenue. The sale of an individual stream or an individual digital file will not generate enough revenue for you to live. So BidClipz streams your content for you as a creator and partners with you to get your content out to your fan base. You charge your fan base directly. It is a subscription-based service. So imagine you have a favorite musician that you like, and they have a channel on BidClipz just like they'd have a channel on YouTube or on Vimeo or any other streaming service. Only you don't get access to every channel on the platform. You are subscribing directly to your favorite artist. Why does this work? It works because it's artist-centric, even though the consumer is still the listener and the audience. The target or the anchor that we're using is artist-centric, meaning we go after the artists and they bring their audience with them. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So like I said before, this allows artists to create their own channel, and they get paid directly, $2 a month. We split that fee with them, so they take $1, we take $1. Existing streaming services do not pay very well at all, and I will get to that in a moment. This process would allow us to scale easily because we don't have to worry about constantly recruiting new users. We have to worry about constantly recruiting artists. Artists will bring their own fan bases in. They may not be able to bring everybody in, but they don't need to. They need to bring in the audience that's willing to pay for their content, and those audience members are out there. The other unique feature we have here is revenue at launch. Unlike most startups, when we launch our iOS and Android versions, it's a pay application immediately. So instead of worrying about growing to 10 million users so I can sell data or sell advertising eyeballs, day one, whether it's one subscriber or 1,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers to individual channels, that revenue is coming through the door. These are all artists, Hardwell, DJ Young Chow, Mumi, B. Simone, and Alan Stone, that I actually have direct access to. These aren't random people I pulled off the internet. I want to read off some numbers. So Hardwell's an EDM artist. If you don't know what that is, it's like electronic dance music. If you don't know what EDM is, he has 4.6 million YouTube subscribers, and he streamed 18 million times on Spotify. DJ Young Chow is a soca artist, big time Caribbean DJ. He has 118,000 Instagram followers and 150,000 streams on Spotify. I'm gonna get to why these numbers are crazy in a minute. This is actually somebody I grew up with. He's now managing an artist named Trey Songs. Once again, this age group may not know who that is, but very successful R&B artist. But he's got, I'm not insulting anybody, I'm just telling you.
Oh, you're honest.
I'm just,
I don't know who it is.
I don't have Rick Springfield. I'm sorry, I don't have Rick Springfield. So
Keep going back.
Is that too young, Rick Springfield? We're in trouble. Okay. But he has 20,000 followers on Instagram and manages a platinum selling artist. B. Simone, R&B artist out of LA, 2.8 million followers on Instagram, 170,000 YouTube subscribers. Alan Stone out of Los Angeles, rock artist, 120,000 followers, 20 million streams on Spotify. Why do these numbers that I'm throwing out make any sense? These are people that I've already reached out to who are interested in what I'm doing. Why? Because here is the streaming industry. Only 3% of YouTube creators make any money directly from their views.
Wow.
Only 3%. There are this is my favorite stat, there are 100,000 YouTube channels with 100,000 or more subscribers. Capturing just 3% of this market would generate millions of revenue for BidClipz. Why? If you build a channel on YouTube, and this is why I wouldn't do it, this is why I came up with the idea. Here is the crux of the issue I'm trying to solve. If you create a channel, if you get 100,000 subscribers, you are the cream of the crop. You are the top of YouTube. And even with 100,000 subscribers, you could have 1 million views every month for your material, which would put you at the top 1% of YouTube. You are a superstar. And then after averaging 1 million views for 12 months, you know how much YouTube pays you?
10 grand.
$16,000. If you sold 1 million CDs a month, when I was in high school, you're out of here. I mean, the money's gone. I mean, you're a superstar. You're bigger than Madonna. 1 million views a month? You average 1 million views with $12,000? If you look at the highest rate Spotify pays per stream is 0.0084 of a cent. What does that mean? That means if you have 1 million streams of your song that you've produced, which would put you at the top 1% of Spotify, you get a check for $8,000. Mm-hmm. When I tell you that the streams are worthless, I mean it, because they are. And the streaming services figured this out a long time ago. What they're doing is capturing eyeballs, selling ads, selling data. That's how they have attempted to make money. And the few streaming services that are purely subscription-based, like Netflix, have another problem that my particular startup solves, which is content. We don't create content. It's user-generated content. Netflix is gonna have all kinds of problems because they keep having to purchase or create content. And so for every dollar they bring in, they're spending 10. Because content is extremely expensive to create, especially when you can't escape something that should be understood by everybody now. You can't out-internet the internet. There's just too many creative people on it. So no matter how many Game of Thrones you make, there's 10 women eating crabs. And they've spent a lot less money than you to capture an audience of 1 million people per video. There are NBA games that don't get that kind of number.
This is amazing.
Okay, I'll go through because I have a short time here trying to keep up with the time. So I want to just refresh real quick. Real revenue for creatives, meaning when you create a channel, your audience pays you directly. So whether you have 300, 3,000, or 300,000 subscribers to your channel, that's $1 per person every month. That's monthly revenue for you. So you could make beats in your basement and never become famous, and if you have only 3,000 fans, you just made $36,000 a year. And we don't own your content, you own it. So not only do you own what you make, but you can keep making money off of what you make, whether you want to do it as a side gig or you want to do it full time, in a way that you could never get paid on any other streaming service. Even if you made a movie, and even if you sold it to Netflix, they'd buy it at a loss from you because you have no other choice. So you spend $100,000, they might buy it for 50. You're just happy to have it on there. You could stream your own movies, and you may never make 50,000, but you may make 20,000 a year for the next 10 years because you streamed it yourself. BidClipz is going to be easily shareable across all platforms, so they'll be able to take their email list, import it, and send out a blast to all their fans. They'll be able to sell merch. They'll be able to post it on Facebook and Twitter, and they'll be able to send people from YouTube. They'll be able to get their audience to come over. And even if they have an audience of 500,000 on YouTube and they can only convince 5,000 to actually come over and pay for it, they're gonna make a lot more money than they would have streaming it anywhere else. So just to recap, once again, streaming services like Spotify, YouTube pay fractions of a penny or nothing at all for the content. Remember that when you're on YouTube, they're running ads on everything. They're not paying everybody. They're only paying a small percentage of people, but the ads are run on everybody's content. And that's where they make their money. We don't run ads. The only way we make money is if we help our creative partners become successful. Real simple funding. I just try to keep it short and sweet. The native app is expensive, so building a native app for iOS and Android is almost 200 grand. I built a HTML5 beta that we've tested, and we learned a lot. It wasn't ready for prime time. Users that helped us test it said, look, we can't do the willing to grow with you thing. If you're not as hot as Spotify when we use it, we're gonna abandon it immediately. I learned a lot by throwing something out into the field just to see what their response was. They love the concept, but if it doesn't work as smooth as one of these high-end apps, they're not gonna use it. They have to be able to engage with their audience quickly, and it has to be easily used by their fans. So to do that, I'm gonna have to build a native iOS and a native Android. The other thing that costs considerable amount of money to start up is the Amazon Web Services. The app will crash if I don't have enough bandwidth or storage. And so I have to raise money for that because you're streaming video and audio at a high rate. Everything else is pretty standard marketing, software, legal staff. I'm gonna raise $1 million for this first round. So that's the goal that I've set.
How far are you into the million?
Nowhere. Nowhere. You know, capital for anybody in this market is not like if we're out in San Francisco. And capital, you know, for founders of color, access is often limited. So I've fought for every pitch meeting I've ever had, and I've done 7 so far, with small groups and groups as big as Revolution. Although Revolution was my first pitch. If I could go back and do that again, I would. We're at BidClipz Media on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us Facebook, and obviously our website's BidClipz.com. That's for the HTML beta that we have out, just for people to see. But that is it. Here's my challenge question. I am trying to find a better way to demonstrate how BidClipz is going to generate ROI. I think it's pretty simple, but other people have been confused by it, so I want to get better at demonstrating the fact that if someone creates a channel, their audience has to pay them immediately to get access. They can see a preview, but short of that, if they have an audience of 100,000, if 1,000 or 2,000 show up, I'm sorry, Mike.
No.
Oh,
You're good.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Oh,
Go ahead and
okay.
finish it up, yeah.
I'm sorry. My point is I've got to be able to demonstrate how quickly I can get ROI back to an investor from the process of providing direct-to-consumer streaming services through BidClipz. So that's my challenge, and I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, if you can go backwards. Yeah, all right, so thank you.
Oh, no,
All right, so we're moving into a fun part of meeting where we get to ask questions, provide suggestions. So before we get started, there are index cards in front of you. So if you can take notes or advice that we didn't get to today, please do that. We're going to be collecting them to pass it on after the meeting. So only the other thing that I want to ask you is let's make your questions be constructive and helpful. So who gets to ask the first question? Jeff.
Thank you, John. Great presentation, and it's obvious you know what you're doing. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of information you gave us, so congratulations on that.
Thanks.
You got to raise $1 million, and you seem like you got to do. I mean, those are very legitimate reasons why you got to go to get $1 million.
Right.
And also, too, I will admit, what you said was, when you're standing in front of people and you're a person of color and it's hard to get, that kind of stunned me. I'm like, what is that? What does someone's skin color have anything to do with getting money? It drives me nuts.
Oh, that's a totally fair question.
But my question is, can you go through your contacts? You showed some of them up there.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the big guys. Will they help you? Like a Disney or a NBC, Universal, Comcast, I guess it is now, right? The big guys they have cash. They don't know what to do with it.
Right. So
you need $1 million.
The big guy, and I've talked to a few. The big guys at that level have two approaches. One, it's like, okay, well, here's some money, go away, and we'll just take it, right? So the passion of building anything's gone because they've just decided they're going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, they're such behemoths that oftentimes where they R&D, they can't, unless it's already hot, they don't want to acquire it. They cost them less money to just go ahead and acquire me after I'm successful than it is to bet on 1,000 of me's. So I've got one idea. They go, oh, that's cute, kid. And we'll see you when you've got $20 million a month of revenue, and now we'll write a check. I'm their R&D. And so they typically don't invest in startups because they'd rather use their resources for acquisitions.
Wow.
Now, to your people of color comment, I'll keep this succinct because it's hard for some people to see. Access is the thing that is uneven in this country when it comes to VC and angel opportunities. And what I mean by that is, I don't know anybody on the golf course, and I don't know anybody I'm sharing too much. I'm a cigar smoker. So the one point of access I have to people who don't look like me and don't hang out with me and have nothing to do with me, I go to a cigar shop in Northwest DC, and there's a bunch of old guys in there who I would never hang out with otherwise, and we all smoke cigars, and they say, oh, Araya, I like you, I know so-and-so. And that is something you can't teach, and that is something you can't buy. Well, you can buy. We found out that people are buying their way into Harvard because of the access. It isn't because of the education. So when we talk about people of color in our networks, if everybody looks like you and you're me, you're in trouble. You'd better have a diverse network with people who are interested in what you're doing to help you further along whatever your career or business interest is.
And your access is your barrier.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Tony, and then over here.
A question with regards to enticing investors. One of the things I see, and I when we talked the other day, it dawned on me, and now it just after you framing out how the model works. Mm-hmm. I have a friend of mine who follows close to 700 different bands.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she does. She just has 700 bands that she follows.
Right.
So on your model, she's paying $1,400 a year or a month to follow those bands if they're all on your system. Okay?
Right.
Great for you, great for the artist, but Does she have the investment to put in to listen to music when there is other options that are cheaper or free? Okay?
Right.
This is a stumbling block, but this is one of the first things that investors look at. They look at what's the per person cost or per customer cost, especially if they're enthusiastic. Now, if they're only following one band, great. But then your model doesn't work again, because if everybody's only following one artist, they're not generating the revenue that they want and that you want. Can you shift the model so that instead of it being something more along the lines of like an Amazon Prime investment, where someone sees the value, sees the artist, and can get, say, a range of access of, say, $100 a year.
Right.
And then what happens is each artist gets a portion of that, apportioned out from that model. Because if it looks like it's more adaptable by the consumer, the investors are more likely to jump at it.
Well, I think having a package deal of some sort, especially in a later iteration, is a very smart move. I think at the beginning, the idea of this being a boutique stream for your fans of your band or your podcast is actually going to be an advantage, not a disadvantage. Why do I say this? Because if you listen to a podcast or you're on YouTube and you watch a show or whatever, what do they say? Inevitably now, they say, go to my Patreon. What does that tell you? It tells you that a portion of their fan base is willing to pay them directly for the quality of their content, but there's no way to pay them directly. So these people exist. Patreon would not exist if this weren't actually happening, but it does, which means that every podcast, every singer, every whoever, every makeup tutorial creator has a portion of their audience who's going to pay for them. And so our main focus in the beginning to build up a user base is to use the artists as anchors to get their hardcore fans to pay for them directly. Now, in a later iteration, should there be a 10-pack or a 20-pack or a 30-pack where you say, okay, if I pay $50, I can follow 7 extra artists or 10 or whatever the number is? I think you're right. I think that has to be in there at some point. Offering it at the very beginning would be difficult because the math involved in deciding who gets paid. So if you're following you and you, what if you're more popular and more followers? Should you get paid more than this person? Are you the real reason that they're now being followed? And if you keep it one for one at the beginning and you build the user base up, everybody is on a full meritocracy. No one can point and say, well, I did this more than you did. No. The dollars show that your audience is paying. But you're right. I think to have in a second iteration a package available where somebody can follow 10 for, $15 or something is the way to go to help give people more access.
Next is James, and then we'll go to
My
Brian.
answers might be too long. I'm sorry.
I actually got a couple of questions. First, I love subscription models and I love membership models. I adore them, right? I have one myself, it works like a dream. But here's, and I love this. But if I'm an investor, I've got two really big questions. The first one is, how do I keep the competition out? That's my first thing. Like, what's the barrier to entry for someone else who's maybe coming in to this, right? What's stopping them doing the same thing? And the second thing is that whilst an artist is bringing their content to you and their fan base, the reality is that unless that artist is going to bring you exclusive content for that fan base, why am I going to pay you for something that I can get readily anywhere else, right? So that content, and you're absolutely, that stuff isn't valuable, right? So if I can get it somewhere else, why am I going to pay you the $2? I can see from an artist standpoint, a revenue share being, hey, that's kind of cool. But as a consumer, I'm like, dude, like, unless you're giving me something exclusive that I can't get someplace else, that's a big barrier for me as a consumer.
Right, and it should be, which is why we would encourage any artist to, when they create their channel, to create stuff for this particular platform. If you're gonna create stuff and all your stuff's on Spotify and all your stuff's on YouTube, you'd be cannibalizing your own money. Whereas if you say, hold on, and this is back to the numbers. If you're somebody who has to have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube to feel good about yourself, cool. you're not gonna make any money, but at least you feel famous. If you're willing to kill that because you know 25,000 will now follow you exclusively and pay you, then you understand the model that we're pitching here, which is we're gonna help you generate with your new content on this platform. You'll be able to get your money direct from your audience and grow your audience from there. This has worked for many podcast companies who have subscription-based models where they've taken everything off and just, if you're not with this particular podcast, Adam Carolla has one. You can only get it on there. You can't find it on Spotify. It's because he's taken everything off and said, you're gonna pay for this. As far as competition is concerned, the closest thing that exists is Twitch, if you know anything about Twitch, which is a gaming streaming service, but they pay based on popularity, not based on one for one. So if you only have 100 followers to your Twitch, your pay rate is significantly different and almost nothing compared to somebody who's got 1 million. So the problem with competition is they are still angling to figure out a way to get all the content from creators without having to really pay it out. So they come out with formulas to prevent payouts. Our advantage is, oh, you want to get paid? Join us. It's harder for competitors to come in if they already have an old model to suddenly switch, because now they got to start paying out. They have all these people. They didn't start with the money.
Right.
They have to now go back and fill it. And that's going to cause serious disruption to their economic models, such as they are now.
So the answer to that challenge question, if you're working at an investment company and you want to show the ROI, I know, I believe you know this intrinsically, you need to walk in with 3 artists already ready to sign up and go. You gotta work. I've got 3 guys, and each of these guys has 500,000 followers each. I'm going to get 5% of that, and 5% gives me $1 million a month. Boom, we're done.
So that's the second, third slide I had up. Those artists that I listed. That's why I said I didn't make these people up. These are people I actually have access to that like what we're doing. Some of them actually were the ones that said, look, if you don't have an iOS, we can't get with this. You've got to make this a better app. But now, that isn't an exhaustive list, but you're right. I came in with people who were already saying, we want to do this and we'll bring our audience. And I'd pay them to do it. Part of the marketing, I'd pay 100 artists $2,000 or $3,000 a pop to sign up. Why wouldn't you? Because you'd have an instant audience and an instant user base. But you're dead on.
All right, so we'll do Brian, Martin, and then come here and then go back there.
Okay.
All right, Brian.
Okay.
My question was actually fairly similar to his. What is your differentiator going to be to the potential subscribers to get them away from the free services, which is basically what he started with. I would only add to that as a pretty cranky non-techie, one of the things that you could add in addition to you're getting exclusive content is you're not going to get a commercial popping up right in the middle of the best part of the song.
Right.
That, for me, I would pay for that because that irritates me like I can't even tell you. It just
agree.
drives me nuts. And so that would be the differentiator for me as a potential customer, but that would be something to add to talk to your investors about is this is how we're going to get that 5% of people is some people just can't stand that stuff. I'd be one of them.
Yeah, we don't have an ad model. There's no ads being run.
Yeah.
So now there's nothing to stop an artist if they create a channel from inserting their own ad. That's up to the artist. Right. But we would not have any skip, press pause, whatever in the middle. No, there's none of that. Next question.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, no, great idea. I think it's challenging to tap into, the kind of set global industry where people are not making enough money. You're trying to change that, so that's a great thing to do. I definitely have a lot of questions on what's the audience, what's me as a customer, what do I attract? I think a couple of ideas were already here. And I want to share a mistake that's being made in 2001 with the concept sell a band. Have you heard of that?
Say it again.
Sell a band.
I have not.
No, it's an Amsterdam-based startup. And what they did, they offered that exclusive content by doing crowdfunding. So they were having artists, and to produce a professional album, they were making the adverts and all the communication, and people could bring in their money, subscription model, and they crowdfunded the production itself.
Right.
What it did wrong, the margin for the company running that whole concept was too thin.
Right.
So I think when you can have your artist making a calendar of exclusive content to come, that will attract the 700 people Tony is talking to because they want to see that new album coming first. All this is, I think there's a lot to learn. I know these guys in Amsterdam. They filed bankrupt. They could not survive. They are now in Munich. So it's a European concept traveling around, but I think there's a lot to learn. But there's a lot to learn about what they did, what the wrong assumption were in the market, and where their own margin was too thin in the end to survive and have that platform running. And that would be your real concern.
Quick response, I have an advantage most startup people don't have when they do this, which is I have experience in media creation and production. So I know how much it costs to make stuff versus I know how much is being generated on the internet, YouTube, or other services. So the model I created has nothing to do with us generating anything because that's where you get into a lot of trouble. What you want is to attract artists who are already creating, which they already are, and many do already complain about the money they're not making. So the question is, can you provide a platform for them where they do what they already do, they're just uploading somewhere else, and they're getting paid to do it.
But you want me as a consumer
I want
to sign up. That's
I want you as a consumer.
Really,
I want
you
you
have
as
to
a
think about
consumer, but my marketing is a little different in that I'm concerned about the artist. Why? Because the artist has a core of diehard fans who will pay for content. Most won't. Most will not. 2 to 3% tops will pay. But I think I can make $30 or $40 million a month off that 2 to 3%. I'm happy to capture that market. Everybody's not going to follow. I'm cool with that. I'm cool. Not everybody eats Hydrox. Somebody does.
All right, next we go to Jen.
I'm sorry.
Can you come back over this way? So just a few thoughts. One, I'm not a huge fan of the name.
It's okay.
And it's not clear what the value provides. So when I read BidClipz, it makes me think I'm going to be bidding on something.
Right.
This is not a bid model.
Right.
Although that's an interesting idea, but not a bid model. So just some feedback there. I would love to see a timeline of what does this look like. So for artists, MVP is this. I don't think, if you need $175,000 to make an app, I think you're doing it wrong. If that's your goal from day one, I think you need an MVP that's much faster and cheaper and better. I actually might onboard some smaller artists to test it just locally to make sure it works and pressure test it. So when you do go to the top 5 artists, it is seamless to them, but you probably don't want them to be your beta artists. You do want them to be ready to go,
Okay.
especially for investors, but you need an MVP faster. And I know you said you made one, but we should talk more about that. Yeah, I think those are my main pieces of feedback. I think the timeline probably needs to be more compressed. And I would love to see version 1 is this. Version 2 is you get a concert exclusive access. Version 3 is I set aside 10 tickets for my next concert for the people on this platform because they're my band-aids, my real fans.
Right.
So just a few thoughts.
Oh, just a quick note on the name. So the name came from an iteration that was earlier where this was all going to happen, but one of the pieces I wanted to add that I had to take off when we were trying to build a beta to test is custom content. So the idea that you put out a request and the money and all the creatives on the platform bid with finished work. So
Gotcha.
I want to make up tutorial. Here's $1,000. Whoever has the best one, you get the money. And these are my specs. And
Totally different business model. Love it. Definitely
But
need a name.
that can't happen until you have an already established group
Right.
of artists on the platform. It's not impossible to port into what we're doing. In fact, to have a marketplace tab and do it, not that difficult. But you need to have an established ecosystem before you can launch that. But that's where the name initially came from. I've had comments on the name, willing to change the name all day long. If that was the barrier to somebody writing a check, the name would change in 30 seconds. You can call it, Captain Kangaroo if you wanted to. I'm less attached to the name than I am the actual business model.
Yeah.
But yes, we did build an MVP, and I had to go through the learning curve of working with developers. I'm not a developer, trying to get something that worked. I've talked to 4 or 5 different vendors for making a streaming app of this quality. The numbers are roughly the same unless I go to like Vietnam. Then I can get a significantly lower price with a few companies run by expats out there. But coast to coast, I haven't seen a price too much lower than what I'm quoting. So if you've got options, let me know.
I'll write them down on the card.
Alright.
John leading who's next?
Yeah,
I'm
so
confused.
Katie, and then we'll come here and then back there.
Yes.
So, well, in looking for VC, is there a reason why you don't go to the artists? So I know Trey Songz, right? I don't mean personally, otherwise I'd introduce you, of course. But you know his producer. And when you're talking about the people that this directly affects and it being the artists, I think that that's a pretty strong argument for immediate ROI for them.
Right.
With artists looking to manage their own book of business and trying to push managers out, is there a reason why you don't go to them directly?
Most of the time when you're dealing with artists, you never deal with the artist directly, even if you have a personal relationship. You're dealing with their handlers and their group of people. By the time, whatever and I've had to deal with this in production, by the time you get to the artist, the gatekeepers have sliced and diced whatever they want out of it before you ever even get to them. And as far as, getting Trey Songz is a phone call for me. That's not an issue. Worst career mistake I ever made was not doing a video for him when I was 25. So we've had a long relationship. I used to live in Petersburg, where he's from. But getting to an artist and getting them to back it is something that would happen after they had seen that it was already established. Artists hop on what's hot. Getting a group of artists who have the funds to back something like this, $250 here, $250 there, $150. That collective, I'm not dealing with them. I'm dealing with their management and their label. And the minute you're building something that involves a label not getting money because it's artist direct, they're gonna kill it because they can't make money doing it. If you're talking about established artists who have money to invest, if you're talking about independent artists that may not have as much, it's a different ballgame. But if you're talking about check writers, unless the label they're with or the management team they're with can own it outright, why would they be interested in it?
But there are so many artists that now put out their own stuff, right?
Yeah. Right.
And that are also into they jump on board, right? They're the pre-adopters.
Chance and all those guys.
Look at Missy Elliott. This is going to be something that would.
But they're not individuals. They're. To be honest with you, they're VC funds on their own. They're angel groups on their own. Only if you're dealing with a VC fund or an angel group, they sort of have a track record of understanding how investment works. These guys, if they were to give me money for this, they'd be like, okay, well, we're going to take 99% of this, and you take 1% of that, and then we want you to go make it work. We'll stand back and watch. In fact, I've had an offer like that where basically they gave me just enough money to do what I wanted to do, but not market it, so that I could fail and they could take the IP. I saw it coming a mile away. They're like, yeah, you'll have to re-raise in 6 months. Well, then why am I doing this? And those are the kind of deals that the record industry offers. That's why there are so many independent artists trying to tour constantly to make money, because they can't make money because their labels swallow so much of it. And if I deal with an artist, even with a chance, who has his own team, by the time they get done with me, I wouldn't have an app to speak of. Because once again, it's technically taking money out of their pockets. But if you have it established and they come to it on their own, that changes the ballgame.
Next, we'll have 3 questions.
I'm sorry.
It's the interest of time.
Oh,
so we'll do John, Amara, and John.
So in answer to your challenge question about succinctly demonstrating ROI, first, a one-sentence statement of the problem that your product solves. Not right this minute, but you need to come up with that one sentence that shows the pain of the consumer, by the way, not the artist. Because
Consumers.
the point 2, sign up 10. If you're representing 5 right here, have 10, you'll have much less trouble raising your first million. By the way, probably it's from what they call friends and family, with maybe some angel sprinkled in.
Goes back to the access and network.
Well, no, but use the term broadly. It may not be institutional investors, at least in my experience, because you have no revenue.
Right.
Okay, but third is in a quick table, have your financial assumptions. Forget the numbers of revenue and cost, but your assumptions, so that someone can quickly see what growth you believe you're going to have. Where the revenue model is, because how that revenue model affects the consumer that's having some problem solved is what needs to be succinctly demonstrated.
Also to follow along with the challenge question, you started talking about the woman eating crabs, but then as we keep talking, we talk about artists. So I would choose one thing that you want to put up there as the memorable connection you want us to make. Is it like stupid random content on YouTube, or is it artists producing artistic content? The second, although I appreciate your numbers of how many views these different artists have had and how little they get on YouTube, my teenage daughters have taught me they don't care what they would get from YouTube. It's the advertising that comes along with being popular. So I'd like to see that in your presentation, that you're acknowledging that these artists are on YouTube, not for what YouTube gives them, but the other money that comes as a result. And so how are you responding to that for BidClipz? Last, I agree with my colleague. I thought I was coming to watch a presentation on couponing, and that would be my age and what I thought BidClipz were. So I also echo, please change the name.
Also exciting, also exciting.
Also,
Right.
yeah.
It'd be a rough one if I'm doing couponing. I'm lost there.
Okay, Claudia.
Just a comment. So I've reviewed a lot of pitches for healthcare startups, a lot of HIPs, and it's all about paradigm shifting, right? And your app is a paradigm shifter. You want to shift really the revenue source from the big companies into the artists and have the public pay for it, basically. So I would agree with, I think, the lady over here who said that when you're doing your pitch, you need to have some kind of demonstrate the value through a pilot. So if you have a pilot that you've run and got some numbers from adoption, that would help your case. And as far as economic mobility for access to capital, I totally am on the same page with you. But networking, beyond going to your cigar, networking with the guys who play golf, it's a big plus.
Right, well, you have to, that's when anybody ever says, well, just, raising friends and family. If you say friends and family to a room of black founders, they'll laugh you out of the room, because it's never going to happen. And this city, this area that we're in now, has one of the highest concentrations of black wealth in the country. They're the most scared investors of all time. They worked really hard to get their money, and they do not want to lose it, and they do not work together, and they do not invest together. And, they understand bricks and mortar, but the vast majority of them would run the minute they hear the term VC. So it's a different environment for us. We have to navigate and create our own networks. Instead of using it as an excuse, we have to somehow bring it on to Muhammad. So that's
right,
the goal.
right. And that's with the networking, I think. Sort of like reaching out to people you don't normally would reach out.
Get out of your comfort zone.
And really demonstrate the value proposition with already the concept that's been piloted. That'd be my 2 cents.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Time flies when you're having fun. Wow. So much fun. So I didn't realize we're already towards the end of our meeting. So I'm sorry we didn't get to all of you. If we didn't get to you, please take a moment to write down your questions, comments, and advice. The index card in front of you, and if you pass it along, that would be fantastic. So it takes a lot of courage to come out and talk about your business and to challenge questions. And we really appreciate you coming out today. And as a token of appreciation, you are coveted. That's right. Coveted. All right. Were you gonna come out? No, sure. Okay, so time to time, we invite our past presenters out here, and just to give you a quick update on how they are doing and how some of our suggestions and how their 1 Million Cups have helped to in their business. So this time, we're going to invite Rio from Ascending. He had presented several months ago, and so I'd like to invite Rio to come out just to give you a quick update on your business and some of the advice that we're giving you. So, come on.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John, and the 1 Million Company organization. So I had a presentation about a few months ago, and our business is ascending, and we basically passing our industry experience to help people get a high-paid job in software engineer industry. So in the past we have grown a lot. I think so this year our revenue should triple, and last presentation I heard a lot of recommendation, such as working with schools, communities. So by taking that suggestion, we did work with a couple of universities like George Mason, GW. We have very tight working relationship with them. That way we get a lot of customers from them. We also get a lot of traction from those marketing channels. And most importantly is that our outcome, we always ensure our education outcome. So our outcome is pretty good. We have 100% employment rate from our customer. They really like it. They refer their friends to our training programs. In the past, I think we are in the Office Evolution for a year, right? John, we're in the Office Evolution for almost a year.
Yeah.
So in the past, we have each batch, we usually train people in the batch. So every batch we have, it's a season, it's a 3-month batch. So in the past, we have only 2 or 3 people in that batch. And 6 months ago, we get to the 3 to 4 people a batch. Now we are getting to a point that we cannot fit more people. It's about 8 people. I have to defer some of the students to get into the next batch. So it really worked by ensuring the quality of our outcome, the training outcome, but also with our marketing channels to get more traction.
Awesome.
Great.
Can you add your website just so we can go learn more about?
Oh, sure.
Ascending?
So our website is www.ascendingdc.com, and I also have my business card. So I will just leave on the tables. So not only working with those students, but also we working with enterprise to get a contract. We actually helped a lot of enterprise to build their infrastructure on AWS. We are certified AWS partner, so we are also working with AWS to get more competencies in their program in order to get more projects so that we can push our students to funnel our students to those projects.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you very much. Awesome presentation. We have a diverse set of presenters. We have a lot of folks coming up booked through September. If you are interested in presenting, we help you through it. We give you moral support. We help you with your slides. We make sure you're ready to get the most out of your presentation. If you are interested in applying, please do so, 1millioncups.com/Fairfax. And you'll hear back from us right away, and we'll work to slot you in October. We do have one open slot on the 28th, which will probably be filled this week. But if you're interested, again, please apply and let us know. Fabulous job to all of our presenters. Great to see you. And we will see you same bat time, same bat place next Wednesday. Please send all of your note cards to the center of the room, and I'll get that to our presenter. Have a great week.
Thank you.
If anybody's doing a comment card, if you could